Alright, so that first stuff just kind of review, so we're just gonna go through this again. I don't wanna go too fast, but I don't wanna waste your time either. So, first one, problem number one, what do I need to do here?
Combine.
I need to combine like terms, so I've got this and this, which is gonna give you 2x, and then I have this one and this one, which is gonna give us 37 greater than 49, okay? Now,
Subtract.
subtract 37 from both sides, so I've got 2x greater than, looks like 12. Claire, now what?
You would divide by 2.
Divide out my 2, and I've got x greater than 6. Are we in agreement there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then to check it, and this is probably the only one that I'm gonna check, pick a number greater than 6.
7.
7 works. Alright, so I've got 2 times 7, plus 37. I'm gonna do it from right there. You really should plug it back into the whole thing, but just for the sake of time, I'm gonna do it that way. So that's 14 plus 37 gives us 51. Greater than 49, which is true. Are we okay there?
Yes.
Alright. Go the other way. Alright, which, so put that on the number line. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 5, 4. Alright, what kind of circle do we have there? Open or close? Open, pointing which way? To the right. Alright, interval notation, how do I start that? Okay. Solution from up here. 6. And then, okay, and we close it with a, okay, everybody okay there? I'm not gonna do the check on all of these, like, y'all should be able to check that in the calculator, like, I'm gonna let y'all do that. Alright, here, Kaylee, what do I do first on number 2?
You distribute.
Okay, so I got that. So when I distribute, what am I getting there, y'all? Minus 30, less than or equal to 42. Now, add 30. Okay, so I've got negative 6x less than or equal to 72. Now, yes, Weston?
You divide -6 by itself and then divide 72 by -6.
Okay, and what happens when I do that?
Flip the sign.
That's where I'm not gonna flip that sign right there. Alright, so I've got x is now greater than or equal to 72 divided by -6, -12. Be careful with your signs, that is the biggest problem that we have. Alright, so when I put that on my number line, I've got -12, -11, -10, -13, -14 here, okay? What type do I have?
Regular.
Field at -12, pointing which direction? To the right, alright? My interval is gonna start how? Bracket, okay? -12. Go into infinity, and infinities always have parentheses. All good there? Alright. Next one. What do I need to do first here, Bella?
Bring down the negative to the next.
Okay, and what else there?
You contribute.
I'm gonna do my distribution there, so I've got positive 6x minus 48 plus 10 less than 2. Now,
You combine.
good, combine like terms, they were nice, it's already right here together. So this gets me how much x?
4.
4x minus 38 less than 2. Okay, now
Add.
add my 38. Okay, so 4x less than 40. Take out our 4. X less than 10. Y'all good there? Alright, so 10, 12, 8. Alright, at 10, what do I have? Open, pointing to the
left.
left. Alright, this time interval, what's that gonna look like?
Parentheses, negative in front of you, and then, okay.
And then I'm gonna close it. Y'all come around this way. Alright, y'all okay there? Alright, this last question down here, it says, Letitia says that 9 could be a solution to all the inequalities above. Do you agree or do you disagree? Would 9 work here? How about here? How about here?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it works. Okay, so yes. It will work for all three. Everybody okay there? She's still in here? Why she didn't play one while she was in school?
That's not my business, I was just told to go around.
There's Aubrey's. Alright, back here. Alright, what am I doing first here?
Combine.
Combine like terms, so I've got those, so 4.5 minus 1.3. What you got?
3.2.
3.2x, okay, and then I've got these two right here in the center. Y'all make sure you take your sign, be careful about that. What do we have there? Negative 6.1, okay, greater than or equal to 14.7. Everybody good there?
Yes.
Okay, now,
Yeah.
add 6.1. Okay, so that goes away. I've got 3.2x greater than or equal to 20.8. And then I'm gonna go ahead and divide this out. It's pretty straightforward, nothing tricky there. X greater than or equal to somebody got it? 6.5, okay. Alright, so there's that. Alright, so if I wanted to sketch it, it would be what kind of circle?
Close.
Yeah, field, it's got equal to. Field pointing to the right. Okay, so if I ask you to sketch it, that's all, like, and there's not a number line given, that's what I'm asked, that's all I need. You don't have to draw a number line, that's perfectly sufficient for me. Alright, what would the interval notation look like there?
Bracket. 6.5.
Okay,
And then infinity.
alright, everybody good there? Y'all getting comfortable with the interval notation? We're good there, okay. Alright, 5, what are we doing?
Distribute.
Okay, so when we distribute that, what do we have? Negative 3/4 x, and looks like positive 9, less than 18. Okay, now
Subtract 9.
subtract 9. So I've got negative 3/4 x, less than 9. Some of y'all are not super conservative of the space on your paper, like, scoot stuff all the way up and right, don't start right in the center, you know you're just gonna take room. Alright, now what? By
Reciprocal.
the reciprocal, which would be negative 4/3. Alright, when I do that, what's gonna happen here?
The sign's gonna flip.
Yep, my signs are gonna flip, so now I have x is greater than negative what? 12, very good. Please watch that sign flip. Alright, so if I'm sketching it, what's it looking like?
Open.
Open, go into the
Right.
interval notation.
Parentheses. Negative 12.
Infinity. Does the little, to me, the little sketch helps me write the interval. Even if there's not a number line, like that helps me see it. I'm super visual, so that helps me. Alright, so y'all work number 6. I'm gonna freeze my screen for a minute. Y'all work 6, and we're gonna kinda check and make sure that we're okay before we move on to the next thing. over here, leave that over here. This should have an X.
Let's see.
That's gonna change all your stuff. Check this right here. This is negative and this is negative, so what should have happened right here? Fix that. I've seen that a lot today. Yep, you did it too. This is negative. And this is negative. Shit. A whole bunch of people done that today. Good. It's kind of been that same problem. I've seen a lot of people do that today, so. This one right here. You put them together correctly, but you didn't keep the sign. Because that one's negative, and that one's that's negative. Does that make sense? So it's just gonna change the sign there. Alright, how we doing? This one's negative. This is negative. This is positive. That should be positive. Oh, it's not gonna change significantly, but it's gonna change your stuff. Okay, this is negative, and this is positive. Like that. Just fix your sign. Just fix your sign. You too. Alright, y'all be really, really careful. It's almost always a sign. This one is positive. So, that's positive right there. You see it? Negative times a negative.
Oh,
So you're not dividing by the negative, so you don't have to flip there. Okay. This should be quick fix. Negative divided by positive. Okay. I think we pretty much got it worked out, yes? I think for the most part, a couple of y'all are kind of just wrapping that up. Alright, so be really, really careful, cause here's what I saw, and I saw it on multiple papers, okay? This was a negative 26.4, so when we brought this down, a whole bunch of y'all, you have this right here written completely correctly, but instead of adding them together, you just did 26.4 minus 2.4 and threw your whole problem off. So several of y'all, that was probably the number one mistake I saw on this problem. Otherwise, for the most part, y'all are fine. The other thing is, once we fix that, or if you got that part, when you did the division, you forgot that this one was negative and this one was a positive, so you forgot the negative on the one. So be really, really careful there, because that's what those were the things I saw, and I saw it on multiple papers. So just watch those things really carefully, because they're really minor, but it still makes your whole problem come out wrong. So just be really careful with that. Alright, this one here, Rodney's flying in an airplane to Puerto Rico. His suitcase and the stuff inside it has to be less than 50 pounds, or they're gonna charge a big fat fee. Alright, so the suitcase weighs 4 pounds. The stuff that he has currently packed weighs 49 pounds. If each of his shirts weighs 0.75 pounds or 3/4 of a pound, they want us to write an inequality to represent the number of shirts he needs to take out to remove so that he meets the requirement. Alright? So I've got on one side, and I don't need numbers right now, on one side I have what going on?
No less than 50.
Yeah, I've got the stuff that's in the suitcase, and I've got what I'm allowed to have, right? So what am I allowed to have? 50, right? And what does it say about 50?
It's the most.
It's the most, which means my inequality needs to
Be less than.
be a less than. Is everybody okay there that that's what we're writing there?
This one.
Okay? Then, what does he currently have? Like, what do we know?
Yeah, his one.
Do what?
He's already used 49.
Is that it?
And that is suitcase.
And the suitcase. So what do we do with that? We've got to put those together. So I've got 4-pound suitcase plus 49 pounds of stuff. Already, he's more than 50, right? So he sees that. We know he sees that because in the problem it says, he tells us about the shirts and it says, how much do we got to take out? So what do we need to do? Okay, what am I subtracting? 0.75x, because 0.75 is the weight of each shirt X. Everybody okay there? Alright, so this is similar to the problem that y'all had yesterday where it was you were reading the book and most of y'all went ahead and took half. I think it was 266 maybe was the number. You went ahead and took the half right up front and you wrote that. If you were having to write the full problem, which I didn't care because I knew what you were doing, most of y'all came and talked to me. If you just used that 266, that was fine. Technically though, if they want you to write a problem for all the information, we should have had a 1/2 times that 266 on that one side. Does that make sense? If you're having to completely write that problem out, because that's technically how it should be written. I was totally fine because I knew y'all took half and then you put it in there, and that works for me. Does that make sense? Okay. So as long as I can see what you're doing, you're fine. All right. So now what do we do here?
Combine.
I'm going to combine here, which is going to give me 53 minus 0.75x less than 50. All right, now, okay, I'm going to subtract my 53, which means that goes away, and I have, please watch this negative sign right here, negative 0.75x less than negative 3. So now, when I divide this, what happens here? We're going to flip that sign. So I'll get x greater than what? Should be a positive 4. Because here's the deal, when we get into these real world problems, and I don't remember who it was, honestly, and I think it was on your quiz, the answer was 15 and you got a negative and you wrote me a note. There's no way this is possible. It's because you had a sign problem. Like, you knew it couldn't work. Like, sometimes, like when it's just straight calculation, you can't necessarily know whether or not that could be right. But when it's a real world problem and it's a quantity or amount of money or whatever, a lot of times, like, you know negative can't work, which means you know you've got a problem. It's probably the sign. That's usually what it is. So just watch that really carefully. All right. So how many shirts do I have to take out? How many do I gotta get rid of?
4.
At least 4. Right, so you have to get at most.
What does this say? Shirts must be greater than 4. So if I take out 4, am I gonna have pulled out enough weight? No. Does that make sense? Because it doesn't say, if we read this really carefully, it doesn't say it can't be more than 50 pounds. Because if it said that, then we could write equal to 50, right? Which is what the 4 would give us. But it says less than 50, which means, and I can't take out part of a shirt, so I gotta take out a whole shirt, right? Which means I must get rid of 5 or more shirts, right? Even though my inequality doesn't say 5 or more, my inequality says greater than 4. But because we're in a real world problem, I can't do that decimal or a fraction, so I'm gonna have to take out 5 shirts, and I could take out more than that so I can save some room to bring stuff that I'm gonna buy at the, well, on my vacation, bring home, because clearly we haven't thought about that yet. But I mean, we've gotta take out 5. 4 won't work in this particular case. Does that make sense? Okay, all right. Celine and Bennett are solving this inequality. Celine says that the inequality is gonna flip, and Bennett says no, and we gotta decide who's right. That's what's happening here. All right, so do the first step of this. Like, you do it, write it down. Actually, I want you to do the first 2 steps, and then I want you to stop. And then I want to talk about it for a second. Okay, so you do your first 2 steps and then look up there and make sure yours matches mine, because that's where I want you to stop for a minute. Guys, y'all be really careful on that distribution and check the signs in front of the numbers that you're multiplying, because sometimes there's a sign change, y'all watch that carefully. Okay, so you should have gotten through and you have 2x plus 12 less than or equal to negative 22, right? The question says, or one of the, what's her face, Celine says they're gonna have to have a sign flip, and Bennett says they're not. You should be able to tell me from right here whether or not that's gonna happen. Where do what causes my sign to flip in an inequality?
Divided.
Okay, and what number am I gonna end up dividing or multiplying by here?
The 2.
2, the number that's in front of the x, which is our coefficient, right? So when I get to right here and I have a single x on the left and number on the right, I really don't even have to go any further to answer this question, because it doesn't tell me to solve it. They didn't ask me that, right? It asks me, am I gonna have to flip? And they're asking that because they wanna make sure that you understand what's gonna cause that to happen and what's not. Now, could we tell it from the beginning? Like, from right here, am I gonna know? I don't have any idea, because I don't have just my whatever x over there, right? But as soon as I get here, as long as x is on the left side, where we want it, I would not have to flip. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so who was right then?
Bennett.
Bennett. Okay, so Bennett is correct, because the coefficient is positive. I'm sure you are good with those math words. And we're not doing that bottom part